I will turn off my video because no one wants to see me. That is an absolute truth.
Oh, come on. Of course
they do. Oh, well, fine. They'll see me for about 5 seconds. Okay. I think we're live right this second. So, hi, everybody. I'm Blake Cabot. I am the owner of facepaint.com. And I am glad for all you guys that are joining us right now. And I'm here with Pam Kinneberg, the legend. Pam Kinneberg, she really is. She's fantastic. She's fantastic.
Thank you.
She's a lot of fun to work with too, and she's a great egg. And so she's going to be doing some Valentine's designs. Good to prep us for the season of love. And I think that with that, I give it over to Pam.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Good to have you here. I've got 3 designs that I'm going to try to make it through, and I'm wearing one of them because I had to do some practice on it today, and so I thought I'd keep it on until the webinar showed up. So we are going to be doing this design first, and so I'll go to my board and we'll start right in and explain to you how I do it. And please ask questions if you have any. We love to answer questions.
Love questions.
Yes.
Love questions, in fact.
Yes, we do. So I'm going to start by spraying water on my petal sponge to do her eyelids. And I always spray my sponges first. I don't spray my paints.
Hi, Jessica from Mexico.
It just keeps my paints from getting sticky and gooey. So when I do eyelids and want to do multicolor color on the eyelids, you know, you can always use a split cake, but sometimes I don't have a rainbow cake that will work for the color. So I sort of just make my own on my sponge. So with this one, I'm going to use a pearl white, a metallic gold, and a global magenta. So I'm going to use these 3 colors on my sponge, and I'm going to start with the white and load the tip of the sponge and get some white on it.
Hi, Anita. Hi, Maria. Anita says she loves your work, Pam.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Thank you for being here and watching. So much fun. All right, so I got a little white on there, and then the next I'm going to put the gold in there. And so let me see if you can see that. I bend my sponge so that the tip of it comes back so it doesn't get any gold on it. And then the middle part goes on the gold. So just rub it in there. And so you see there's still a little white left on there, and then there's gold. And then I just put the end of it, this end right here, into the pink. And so you see I have a triple loaded sponge that I can put on my eyelids.
Hi, Tammy from Texas. I was raised in Texas, so I'm entirely sympathetic to someone from Texas.
Hi, Tammy. All right, so I'm just pouncing on my board, and just this is where my eyelid would be, and I'm going to go above the eyebrow a little bit, just because what I'm painting up on top, it'll sort of join it better. And then I'll do the other side, just turn the sponge around. And
are all the paints craze, or using something else?
No, they're not all craze. The gold is a fab. The white is a fusion, and the pink is global. Actually, I have global and fab side by side in here, but I don't know which one is which. So they were the same color. So now I just use them both together, and it works just fine. So I'm just dabbing on her eyelids to get a nice blend of the colors. And so you can see that there. I've got a nice transition from the pearl white to the pink. And I call this design Flamingo Love. And I was going to show you.
I love that name.
It gives a little interest to it. And you can go in there with your, you know, if you go like out of the area that you want to go in, you can go in with a little baby wipe and just fix up those edges if you'd like. It's not necessary, but we'll do it a little bit here. I see I was a little bit crazy with my wipe there. There we go. I wanted to show you again, you know, many people ask, how do you come up with designs and how do I do new stuff? And so every time I sort of like to show you a little bit of that process. And it's the same process for me every time I go online. I look up images that have to do with Valentines and hearts. And then I make a little folder on my computer, and then I just organize it on a page and print it out. So I have lots of ideas on graphics for Valentine's Day. And from these, my mind just gets ideas of things I can do. And so on this particular design, I found these flamingos and I just thought, you know, with their heads together, they create a heart shape. And you'll see that a lot with flamingos in clip art and stuff, where their heads are together making the shape of a heart. And so that's where I got my idea to use a flamingo. And then, so from that point, I went and I researched flamingos, and I made another little page for myself of all kinds of different flamingos and different colors. And my inspiration from this sheet was to use these three colors, the gold, if you can see that, it has gold on it, and teal, like a light teal, and then the pink. And I thought, oh, I love that color combination. So that's what I'm going to do. But this gives me a resource to look at what their head shapes are like, what their beaks are like. And then I take it from there. And then the next thing I do is I just sketched the design out on a little layout paper that I've created for myself. And it doesn't always come out exactly like this, but it's a starting place for me. So I get an idea of kind of what I want to do. So that's my process. And then sometimes you know, the next step, I might paint it on a board, or I might just paint it on my own face just to kind of work out the details of it. So I do one or the other. So that's how my brain processes these designs.
That's really interesting.
Thanks. It's just something I've always done, and it's just my thing. I do it every time I want to come up with a nice new design, and it works for me.
Cool.
It's my deal. And now I'm just cleaning out her eyes here so we can see her eyes in the whole thing.
As I've done this the last one, I thought this was a good idea. So what promo do you guys want? I'll do 10% off some category on facepaint.com, and it'll last one day. So you tell me, what should the promo be?
Okay, we'll wait to hear that answer.
Yeah.
How about we want the whole line of Craze face paints
I'll throw 50%
for
off
half price, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, not exactly.
No, you won't go quite that far.
I won't go that far.
Right.
But
you get good deals, Blake.
Exactly. Well,
yes.
I'll go 15. I'll go 50.
All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I've got my eyelids on there. Now the next thing is I'm going to do a real thin white line of a heart shape in the center here, so that I know where the heads of my flamingos are going to go before I just start putting them in there, because chances are I would get them all crooked and asymmetrical, and I kind of want this to be as symmetrical as possible. So I'm going to find the center point by going right up the middle, and maybe make a little dot here where like the tip of the heart would be, and then the top of the heart is going to be here, just so that I make sure that it's in the center. I just kind of have this imaginary line going right up here. So then just a really light, line that's going to tell me where this center heart is. And then I'm going to swoop around and make it, probably can't see that very well. Do you see where I've come down right here and swooped it in where the necks are going to be? So I will do that with this little line right here. And it would have been a good idea for me to have done the left side first, but oh my goodness, I always forget to do that. It's so much easier to do symmetry if you're right-handed to do the left side first, because then you could just copy it on the right side, but I always forget. So I'm gonna try to do the same thing on the left side so it's symmetrical. And once again, I'm creating that, the swoops where the necks will be. So that's just a guide for me. So I know what I'm doing, where I'm gonna go with my next step. So there I've got my heart shape. And then the next brush I'm going to use is the Paint Pal Little Drop. And this is a really nice little filbert. And I'm gonna use it to create the necks of my flamingos. So I'll be using Superstar Bubblegum along with Superstar Berry Wine. And these two together, I'm gonna double load my filbert to make this happen so that there's a shadow on the underside of their necks with this dark color. So first I'll load my brush with the pink, just like that, and get a nice load on there. And then I'm gonna spray over here, but I'm gonna spray water onto this berry wine so that it's a little wet. You can see it's a little wet now. And I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just going to run just the side of my brush across the berry wine so that I can pick up some of that color. So I'm just gonna test it on here so you can see see how that looks. So now you've got a double load on your brush.
Someone asked, those are really pretty boards. What board is that?
Well, it's Sparkling Faces by Svetlana Keller. And I don't know, there's like a whole bunch of them, and I don't know what they're all named with the names of these kids. I don't know what one her name is. I haven't memorized the names, but if you go on any face paint, for shop, if you go on facepaint.com, they'll have these boards and they'll all have a name, but under the Svetlana Keller Sparkling Faces boards. And they're really, really nice to paint on the surface. Takes the paint really, really well. So I'm gonna keep the darker part of my brush on the underside, and the lighter color is gonna be on the top as I make this little loop. And this is gonna be the first head and neck. And I'm just gonna swoop around like so. And you see how that creates a light and a darker area. And then I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna reload my brush. It's a really quick way to get shading in there without having to outline it with a darker color. Okay, and then I'm going to double load it by running my brush across. And I'm gonna do the other side.
Well, Joe, I'm glad you can make it. She always misses these. And what containers are you using? Containers.
These containers I got from the Container Store. It's online. If you just type in, if you just go to the Container Store on the web, I got them from there. Now, they're nice. They're nice, but one of the problems with these is that they kind of break on the edges. This is a really thin plastic on the edge. I don't know if you can see that right there. See that little notch in there that's gone? They break, that breaks. And so, after a while, after some use, so they don't last forever. Just a heads up on that. But they're nice. They all fit in my Craft and Go because they can go side by side and meet up together really nice.
Okay, so I did a coupon code for 15% off, lasts 1 day only on all one strokes.
That's awesome.
So here's the link that'll so do the code, click on the link on the category, and any of those should have it.
Awesome. That's a good deal.
It is a good deal.
Stock up, people.
Exactly.
All right. So now I'm going to paint the body of the flamingo with just the bubblegum pink on my brush. And these filberts are nice because you can get a lot of paint down with not too much effort. And so I'm just going to kind of paint a kind of a hump. And I'm going to go right to the corner of the eye with the pink. So I'm just going to bring it right down here and go right to the corner so that you have a nice little rounded area there. It almost looks like another heart when I get through. If you look at the overall shape of this, it's going to look like another heart. And I'm trying to make these two sides the same. So we'll just go down to the corner like that. So now I've got the two sides of my flamingos. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some wings, just some simple wings on the flamingo. So for that, I'm going to also do another double dip. This is Craze White. I'm going to load my brush with that. I love Craze White. It's a really, really nice white. And I was telling Blake earlier, I ordered another full-size version 5 days ago, but we had a big blizzard here, so we haven't gotten mail for 5 days. So it never came in time for this. So I'm still using my little swatch. And I'm gonna double dip it in this berry wine again so that I get white and a darker pink on here. And yeah, I probably had a little bit too much water in there, so it's spread all over. But here, this is what this looks like. So I've got white and the pink loader. So now I'm just gonna have two kind of swoops here that will just sort of designate where their wing feathers are. And the top one will be shorter and the bottom one will be longer. But I'm just gonna turn my brush so that it comes down to more of a point. It's fat on the outside and a pointed on the inside by turning your brush. So if you can see that. And it's got white on the top. It's sort of highlighting and the shadow at the same time when you're able to do this with your brush. And I'm gonna do the other side. Just turn your brush so it comes to a point, and then the longer one. I just swivel the brush in my fingers to get it to the point on this end. Do this side. So there we have some just very simple, a simple wing shape there that's got shading to it. And then at this point, I'm just going to quickly start the beak because part of it has to dry before we can do the rest. So I want to do that now so I can come back to it later. Mm-hmm. But the flamingos have a white part to the top of their beaks and then the bottom part is black. So I'm just going to put the white part on, and I sort of just do like a little triangle on each little face right there. And then make just a rectangle. Just keep it as simple as possible. So I just make a rectangle like that to start with. And then I put their eyes in at this point too. And just do a little, dot. So load your brush and just get a little dot for the eye. There's one. And the eyes go right at the tip of their beaks. Just like that. So no, there's my eyes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna leave that now so it'll dry, and then I'll put the black part on later. I don't want it to smear. So at this point, since I'm waiting for that to dry, now is the time for my stencils. And I am using 3 different stencils. They're Boomerang stencils from the Art Factory. This is one that I'm going to use for the top. There's a heart and a crown on it. And I could have done this to start with, but I forgot. So we're doing it now. It'd probably be easier to do.
Never too late. Never
too late. You can always put something in. So I'm using one of these yellow, I don't know exactly what they're called, sponges. I use them most of the time for my stencils because they're a denser sponge and they have a narrower top to them. And so when you're loading, you just make sure your paint isn't too wet on your sponge. So just keep rubbing it over the paint until it feels dry and you have no moisture left. And you can always test it on your hand to make sure it's not too wet. So I'm gonna position, well, okay, so this probably isn't a good idea to do it here since this is all wet, but I'm gonna give it a try. I'm just gonna hold up the end of it because I'm only going to do the top part of this. So I'm gonna position it right here while I'm holding it up at the bottom so I don't get my white beak all messed up. And then I'm going to dab my sponge and try to get it just in this center part of the stencil. So I just get part of the heart and the whole crown. Ta-da! It worked pretty good.
Nice.
So that worked. And you can, if you get a little bit of the other parts of the stencil, you can just quickly take your little baby wipe and get those off of there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this same color. And I'm going to use this, it's a Fern body, a Fern Boomerang stencil. And I'm going to, I will be putting 2 leaves on here. One will go here and here, this one, they'll be symmetrical. And then the other one will be this leaf, if you can see it, that will be going right on the side. But I want this particular one to go on first because I want my green leaf to overlap it when I put it on. So that's why I'm doing this one first. So on this one, I will have to, I want my leaf to be going in because you always want your design to be just following this curve and everything's following the curve and pointing up to this, to the focal point in the center. So that's why I want these leaves to be going towards the middle like that. So actually I'm going to do this side first. Like I said, it's easier to do the left side first. So you can
is the red that you're using Fab?
It is, yeah, Fab or Superstar. It's called Berry Wine. It's a wonderful color. I love this color. Yeah.
Let me find you the link.
I'm going to reload my sponge a little. It's probably dried while I've been talking. So I've got it positioned about where I want it, and then just going to dab the color on, hoping it's not too wet.
Superstar, I think, because Tag's got a berry wine as well, but Fab's got wine berry. Oh,
it's definitely, this particular one is Superstar. But you know, Fab might
Fab is Superstar.
Right.
So it is the same beast. There you go.
Okay, so I had to wipe this off because on this side, I have to flip my stencil over in order to be the symmetrical version of this leaf. So you have to sort of wipe it off in between, which doesn't take long. So then I position it, you kind of look at how far it is from the nose to make sure. You can use, you know, focal points or, you know, points on the face to help you guide yourself to lay the stencil in the right position. You know, how far is it from the eye? How far is it from the nose in comparison to this one? And it looks about right. So we'll put this one on right here. All right, so we got that one. So they look pretty nice. Then I'm going to put the green stencil, the green leaf on, and I'm just going to use the other side of my sponge for the green. So that I just have, so I just using one sponge. And this is called Dolphin, and it's a Fab paint. And it's a really, it's like a really light teal, and it's a really pretty color. It's not overpowering. It's very kind of more of a neutral teal. Loading my sponge. And then I'm going to take this stencil. This one is called Tropical Flower. And once again, I'm going to do this side first. And I'm just tilting the fern out a little bit like this, just to kind of, so they're not all going exactly in line. This gives a little variation to it. Whoops, started with the wrong color there. Doing my green. And if you want to spray some glitter on top of these while you're doing it, that would be pretty too. I'm not going to do it at this point. There's my green leaf there, and I can kind of use the same
Hi, Marina.
Side on this side, and I will put my green leaf here. So now I have my three, well, I don't have my gold. Well, I have a little bit of gold. I'll put a little bit more gold in to bring the gold into this design here in a minute. So there I have my two leaves, the green ones, and then the ferns. So I love the way that just sort of frames the face like that. It's really fun. And in doing that, I kind of scruffed up this part here, but we're just gonna have to let that go. It wouldn't happen on a face, but these boards, you have to be really careful. I'm just gonna kind of touch it up a little bit. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. There we go.
Okay, it didn't happen. Everybody pretending?
Okay, now we're gonna do some white line work. So I'm taking my white and I'm using actually, yeah, I'll use this, a number 2 Low Cornell round brush. And I'm gonna add some highlights and just some line work on here. And so the highlights would be coming in on the tops of the necks of these flamingos. And so that's where I'm gonna just add some lines there. So just go around, come down like that. And then I'll do the other side too. Just go from thick to thin. You need to start down a little further here. Like so, and then I'm also going to do kind of another little heart shape right where these feathers for the wings are. It's kind of a sideways heart. And so I'm gonna start, you can see me here, I'll quickly get out of here. But my first line is like that, and go in a little bit like that, and come around and go like that. So that's kind of the shape. It's sort of like a sideways heart. I like to get as many heart shapes in here as possible since it's a Valentine's Day design. So I've got a heart shape going here, a heart shape going here, and then a heart shape going here. So we'll do this side the same way. There, I got a little area here to fix. So there's some white lines there. I'm going to add a few more teardrops here and there. Right up here. Just sort of frame their necks a little bit. And then I'm going to put right in the center here some teardrops like we do on princess crowns, just to finish off this center part like that. And then on the sides, I'm also going to do some lines to kind of bring this together, to add some white into this area, because now there's a lot of white up here, but there really isn't any here. So by adding white down here, it'll just make this whole thing come together a little bit more. So I'm really going to add like a kind of a long teardrop coming from, like, first of all, right here, going up. And depending on how much room you have when you're working on a child, you can put like a little swirl right in here. If you had the room, that got a little bit large.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to put another teardrop coming from here and going up like that. So it's sort of bringing this together. Do it on the other side.
Hi, Sandra.
Swirl. And always remember, you can overlap your graphics on your design. I'm always leery of doing that. It's like, oh, I'm going to go paint right over something, but kind of layering elements has a really neat look to it. So, and then just a few dots, and then I'll just do kind of some dots to end those lines, like so. And there we have our white. Mm-hmm. And now that this has dried, I'm going to go back in and do the rest of the beak so we get that done. I'm loading, this is Craze Black. The round ones, the original shapes. Now they're square.
Back to the old days.
Yeah.
That's before we figured that out.
Yeah. And then for the beak, I'm going to show you the beaks of flamingos. See how they're sort of curved in like that? That's very distinctive on a flamingo. That's what really gives it away that this is a flamingo rather than a swan. So I'm going to come in here, kind of come down. I don't know if you can see me doing this. And then just kind of make a turn like that. So I have like a little line like that and fill my beak in. And then I'll do that to the other side too. So that when you look at it, you can tell that those are flamingos from the beaks. Oops. And then I'll do a line up the center to, and then they also have like a little line that goes in the middle of their beak too. So just something like that is what I'm doing. And then I'll put a little black dot in the middle for their eyeballs. And this is really tiny. My designs always tend to be really tiny sometimes. So you don't have to do all these details if you're in a hurry, but we'll do a few of them. Little black dot in the center. So that's what their face looks like. So that's the only black that's in this design. Now I'm just going to add some gold to certain areas. I'm going to clean up this spot right here. And when I want to add gold and I want it to be really more powerful than just the regular metallic gold that comes in the that comes as the regular paint, I add Mayron metallic powder to it, and that makes it really, really metallic-y. And all I ever do with this is I just add it right to my paint. So I get it a little wet, and then I just go in, I just dip my brush right in here and bring some of the powder in, and then I just mix it right with my paint. And it doesn't hurt a thing. And then it makes it really nice and metallic-y. And you're not using a separate dish and separate stuff. You're just right in your paint, and you'll use it all, and then your paint will be back to normal again. And if it has a little bit of that metallic in it, great, because that's what you want anyway.
So you don't use the setting powder and all that stuff?
Nope, I just do this. It's super easy. So I'm going to add, since I want some gold added to this, I'm going to add it to various parts of the flamingo's body. So I'm going to put some on their necks, like that. Just some kind of curved teardrops. And I'm going to add it to their body here. Another one to the top of this wing, just to give it some accents of gold. Just make it more exciting. It just gives it this more colorization, so it's not all pink.
Catherine, a lot of people love this. Guitaricon loves it. Catherine loves it.
Thank you.
And So one question that came from Catherine, how long does this design take on the job?
I've never done it on the job. So it would take me too long, probably. But the thing is, the more you do it, the faster you become. You know, any design that you do is going to take you longer the first 5, 6, 7 times you do it. And then you start figuring out where to take shortcuts, or, you know, you're not overthinking, where does my line work go, you know, stuff like that. You know exactly where you're going with it. So then it becomes a lot quicker. There's always ways to shorten up a design. You know, let's just leave out the leaves entirely, you know, or leave out this top stencil, or, you know, whatever. There's always ways to shorten it. Maybe you just want to do one side. I do that a lot. I just do one side of designs. So this whole design would probably take me 5 to 6 minutes if I did this and was used to doing it, you know, and had my stencils ready and whatnot. So, but yeah, I haven't ever actually done it on the job yet because it's a brand new design for me. The other thing I'm going to do with my gold is I'm just going to give the beaks a little accent of gold, just to give them a little kind of cool feature. So I'm just going to do like a little line on them. And again, just takes more time to do this, so you could certainly leave this out, but I just think it's kind of a fun little accent for that. And then, as you notice, I've got this green in here, and I really want to bring that green into my design somewhere else so that I can pull it together a little bit better. So I'm going to put some dots in with this dolphin color. Oh, I'm already halfway through, aren't I? Okay, this one was the longest design, so.
It's fun.
So I'm just putting dots right at the top that lead down to this teardrop right there, just to kind of like finish that circular area at the top and sort of close it up in a way. There's still negative space running through it, but it's bringing this green up into this area. And I think that the whole design works better that way. And then the last thing that I do on here that really gives the wow factor is I put some of this chunky glitter on. And this is the Gleam glitter from Vivid, and it's the glitter cream. So it has that sort of almost like a chapstick sort of texture to it. And so it can go over paint and of course on skin too. And you just pick it up with whatever. You can do it with your finger. And I'm just going to put some like right here, and then right on this heart at the top. So we'll just put it in this area right here. So it sort of finishes out this kind of area that's swooping in towards the nose, and it finishes it out with a really beautiful sparkle. I love this. This is Gold Dust, I think it's called. Gold Dust, yes, Gold Dust from Vivid. So there's some sparkle there. And then it can go right over the paint, right in the center area to give this just kind of that glittering crown at the top. So yeah, there you have it.
Catherine asks, when is facepaint.com going to get Gleam? You know, I just talked, I was at Capitol Convention last week, and I was talking to Vivid, and we'll be adding it soon. Is the short answer.
It's really one of my favorite glitters of all time, especially this color and the silver. I love it. And you could add lipstick to this, but I'm going to not do it because I want to get on to my next design. So anybody have any other questions on this design? If not, I will carry on with the next one.
Well, Patty said she always loves learning tips and tricks from you.
Oh, awesome.
And Shirley loves the gold. And Francisca, it's really useful for a beginner like her. So she thinks
I'm so glad. Thanks. Ask questions too. If you wonder, and if I do something and you think it's kind of a silly way to do it, tell me that too. We can all learn from each other.
Absolutely.
All right.
And we have some our upcoming webinars are while you're setting up.
Yep.
Come on, boy.
So this is the new coral from Tag, and I bought it thinking, oh, it's so beautiful, and I haven't used it yet. And I'm going to use it for my Valentine's design along with this color because they are going to look so good together. And oh my goodness, they're beautiful together. They're so beautiful. You're going to want this. Like, it's amazing. It's an amazing color. So I'm going to double load my petal sponge once again to do the eyelids. And I'm just going to load this whole thing up with the coral color on my sponge. So I got the whole thing loaded. And then I'm just going to do the top part in the magenta so that I get a little bit of that at the top. So now I have both colors on my sponge, and I'm going to do her eyelids. And I'm going to come again right above the eyelid. I'm not going to just do the lid. These boards, the one thing about these boards is that they're not correct exactly with how much space between the eyes and the eyelids. And of course, people don't have this big of eyes. So, you know, when you do it on these, you have to kind of remember that when you do it on a real person, the proportions will change slightly, but it still is a good practice board. I'm gonna grab some more of that magenta color. Mm-hmm. But isn't that just a beautiful color combination? Oh, it's just gorgeous. I love it. That coral and the magenta together. Okay, now that I've got that on there, I'm going to kind of trim it up a little bit. I'm going to get this out of the eyelet eyes. So, and then I'm going to just kind of get this looking a little bit better here. It's hard on a flat surface when you're not dealing with the actual eyes to get this in the right spot because the sponge wants to go all over the place. So I always just do this, make it nice and pretty. There we go. Mm-hmm. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that color just beautiful together? The coral and the magenta, I just love it. And then, okay, so I want to do a heart in the center, and I don't have a really big stencil heart, but I used to scrapbook. Are there any scrapbookers out there who have been scrapbooking for years? I did it when my kids were young, and then I sort of quit doing it. So I have all these scrapbooking paraphernalia, and this is a stencil that I used for scrapbooking and has really big hearts in it because it was used to cut out pictures and stuff like that. So I just cut off, I figured these two size hearts would be something I could use for face painting. And I just cut them off. I put packing tape around the edges so that they're, see how sharp that edge looks like it is? And if you jab that into a kid's eye, that would not be good. So I put packing tape. Can you see the packing tape around it? And I curved it so that this is protected from ever getting in somebody's eye. You never want sharp corners on your stencils. So I'm making sure that that would never happen. And then I'm just going to take this same sponge that I used for the eyelids. And if you need to reload it, you can. I'm going to put a little bit more paint on it. And I'm going to use the smaller heart here and position it right in that point that goes right in between the eyebrows. And if you, when you're holding a sponge there, sometimes, or I mean a stencil there, sometimes you don't know where the middle part is. So I'm just going to put like a little dot so I know where the middle should go. And then I'm going to position my stencil right here. And I'm going to put the dark part at the bottom and just tap that in there so that I get the two colored heart that has some of that magenta coming in there. So when I take this off, I got a beautiful heart at the top. That's kind of a combination of a couple colors. Then I also, if you want to put another little heart on the sides, you can do that also. This is a tap stencil. It's got a little heart there, and you can use the same sponge. I just crunch it up like this and tap it on there so that I get both of the colors on. And I'm not too fussy with these side ones. It's just whatever color goes on there is great. But it just fills up that side. Sometimes I have sides of designs. I'm like, what do I do with the side? There's nothing there. So this heart-shaped stencil really helps fill up the sides, the side areas of my design. All right, so I've got my hearts.
What is the brand for the coral again?
It's Tag.
Tag Coral.
Yep, Tag Neon Coral, it's called. It's a beautiful color, beautiful, beautiful color. All right, so I just wanted to show you, you know, how you can simply put some color on your board, on the eyelids, put a colored heart in the middle, and then the rest you can just complete with line work. If you want to put stencil work in there a little bit more, you can always, for instance, take, this is the henna bit stencil from Diva, and you can take your same, so that you're not switching sponges out, just use the same one over and you're saving time. I'm going to take this portion of the stencil and I'm just going to put it on the corner of the eyelid right there, and then tap on the same coral color, and it's dried out. Let me reload here quick. If I was doing it all at once, you know, I could do more of these together since my sponge wouldn't be dried out. I'm just going to put this right on the corner here. Just add a little bit of texture and put it on this side. Gives a little interest to the piece. And there you go. You can see that.
Yeah.
A little texture there. All right, and so my deal with this design is when I was at in St. Louis at the convention there, Eva Wielden gave a class on pinstriping, and that has become kind of the new thing in face painting right now, is just fancy pinstriping line work. And I am not going to sit here and say I am the super greatest at it, but I'm giving it a try because I think it's a really lovely design element to use in your designs. And so I'm using it on this design to encourage all of you to start just playing around with it. Because if you don't, you'll never learn how to do that sort of line work, pinstriping. And so I'm doing it in this, and I'm claiming not to be a pro at it. And if I can do it on a webinar and not be a pro at it, you guys can do it on your own and practice and start learning how to do pinstriping. And with that, you use a liner brush. And the liner brushes are brushes with a very narrow, really long bristles to it. And so it looks just like this. And they take some getting used to, learning how to use these. And I am, like I say, I'm still learning how to do this and how to get used to it, but I'm giving it a whirl, and it's fun, and you start learning some basics. So I encourage all of you to put, just bring in some new ideas into your work, and it's fun, and sometimes we just need a change in the way we do things. And it might be scary at first, but just do it and practice, and before you know, you'll be a professional at it.
Catherine has an interesting story. She said, I got into pinstriping to fix my husband's pinball machine. I noticed how after I worked on the my face painting improved. That's
awesome. That's perfect, because you know, you can improve your face painting in other areas of things that you do, you know, like that's right. A good example. All right, so I'm going to just create the rest of the design out of line work. So you just get a base on there, and then you just go crazy with lines. And so I'm starting out with this magenta, and I'm just going to start putting in some line work, doing the thick to thin. And you know, really once you start doing this, really there's a million different lines and designs that you can do with this technique. And I may not even be doing it right, who knows? But I'm learning a few basic strokes, and I'm just gonna run with it. So I've got some lines started there. I'm gonna put one kind of around the eye area right in here. It's really fun to be able to create a design just using a really simple base color and lines, because you can do so much with that. And you can have so much freedom with that if you get used to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to do a little shorter line here and on this side. And then one thing about pinstriping is you're crossing over lines. You have this crossover technique, which is really cool. So with this line right here, I'm going to take it and I'm just going to cross over the line and go right up like that. And then I'm going to repeat it on this side and go right up like that. So you get this cool crossover look. I love that. And then right down here, I'm going to do that same crossover sort of technique. I'm going to come up, I'm going to do 2 lines like this, and then just come down and cross over just like that. And if I'm doing this all wrong, I don't care, because maybe I'm making up my own way of doing line work by being influenced by pinstriping. You know, anything goes. There are no right or wrongs in face painting. That's the sweet part about it. You can just do whatever you feel. And it's like, hey, this is my way of doing it. And I love it.
And that's all you need to know.
Right.
Well, Melody thinks you're being brave.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I'm out of my comfort zone here big time, because I'm like, oh, wow, I don't even know I'm going to be able to do this during the webinar. But it's so far so good. So I'm going to kind of frame this little heart here with, again, some of the same color. And then once I get these lines done, I'm going to come in with a couple extra colors. So now I've got that color on there. And now I'm going to use Cray's Neon Pink. And you know what? This is a great neon color, because I have other neons and they're also transparent and they don't really get opaque. Well, I'm here to tell you, living proof here, that this neon is very opaque and very easy to work with. I love it. It's definitely a good addition to your face painting kit.
Awesome.
So I'm just going to add some neon lines here. I'm going to come right down here and put a line right here to go up. So when you add colors together, I'm just sort of doing this monochromatic here in the different pinks, but it has a cool look to it. And when you load a liner brush, you have to be really careful, otherwise you get splattered all over. And you see I splattered a couple of places here because it's got so much bristles that tend to want to splatter. If you really want to know how to do pinstriping, you gotta watch Eva Wielden. She's a master at it, and she teaches classes on it. She's excellent.
She is. I saw her in a Capitol Convention. She was there.
Yeah, she taught a class there too, didn't she? Or more than one probably, but she's amazing. She's such a sweet gal too. I love her. Okay, just some. So you see that's kind of bringing in some different colors there. And then I'm going to come in with this coral and do some line work with that. And you have to make sure that your paint is not too watery when you go on. So, you know, you got to kind of mix it. That's one of the mistakes I made when I was first starting face painting, is I just didn't mix the paint well enough to get a really nice consistency of paint. I was in too much of a hurry. And then I'd start on somebody's face and it would be it wouldn't look right. And then I just learned that you've got to really put in the time to get it mixed to the right consistency if you want a really nice line. And especially with this liner brush, it's kind of picky. Okay, so I'm gonna do a repeat.
Lisa Bowman was at that class and she loved it.
Oh yeah, wasn't it great, Lisa? It was a great class. And I must admit, I haven't been practicing it as much as I should have, but I thought, hey, you know, if you never start, you never will. So you gotta jump in somewhere, right? And so I jumped in. But I've already learned, you know, just this stroke right here, even if you just learn one stroke and you use it on a few designs, it's an accomplishment, I think. I love that just one stroke will just change things up for you. So there's the bottom part. It's bringing that coral in. And isn't that just, that coral is such a beautiful color. And then I'm leaving the center part for a center design in white. I'm doing all the other colors first. So just bear with me on that. I'll just put a few more of these coral colors on here. Let me see. Oh, yep. I won't get to the third design. Oh, well.
No, you won't.
No.
Leslie Marie thinks that looks awesome.
Thank you. Okay, let's do the center one. I don't want to go over time here. So I'm going to do the design in the center, and I'm doing that all in white. So once again, loading my brush in white. And I hope you guys, if you haven't done this pinstriping or used a liner brush, I just really encourage you to get one out and start practicing it, because it'll give you another thing you can add to your designs, and people just love it. Okay, so I'm gonna just take, and I'm gonna, you could always, to speed this design up, you could always use a stencil, but I just wanted to kind of create the whole design out of lines. So I'm just gonna do like a long, narrow teardrop in the center and bring it all the way down. And then I'm gonna do two kind of curved ones off to the side. You'll see here. I'm going to take one here and curve it this direction. And do the same on this side. And leaving all of my strokes at the bottom like that. And then I'm going to connect them up sort of like a little leaf almost, and join them in the center part here.
Who was the teacher's, how do you spell Eva's last name?
Wheeldon, I believe.
I think that's right. And the other one was, what liner brush are you using?
I'm using the #1 script liner from Blazing Brushes by Marcella Bustamante. I love her brushes. She's got great brushes. So I got that part done, and then I'm going to put another little line right here. And then I'm going to do another crossover. Again, remember that crossing over the lines is kind of a big deal in pinstriping. At least it looks like it is to me. It's the part I picked up on. And I'm going to connect these two lines together with like a little arch, like that. And I'm also going to do another little line right up here. So now I've got this kind of cool little design going at the top, which is super fun that I didn't use a stencil for that, and I could quickly do line work on it. And I'm just going to put some little teardrops at the top here. Perhaps some dots. And I'm going to bring some white lines in a few other places on my design to bring it all together, so that this is not the only area that will have white. I'm going to bring some teardrops right here. Important thing about using a liner brush is you want to hold it like up and down as much as you can, and without slanting it too much, because your lines will work better if you're holding it more perpendicular for most of them. I'm just going to come in here, here. You can also kind of cross over these two. I didn't even have that in my original design. Woohoo, I'm creating. I'm making
on the fly.
Oh, but you know, you just get, if you get used to using this brush, in your mind, you can see where these things need to go, and you just get better at it. So, you know, I'm excited to keep doing this and getting better at it, because it's a lot of fun. And then you can just put some dots in here. And then I'm just going to stop there. You know, you can just keep going. It's super fun, but I'm going to complete it with some more glitter cream. This glitter cream, this is Biosphere. Who puts this one out? Glitter cream Biosphere. I'm not sure who.
I'm not sure either.
But get this little applicator. It's like $1, I think, or even maybe you get 3 of them for $1. But oftentimes I'll use this. Oftentimes my fingers get really full of paint, and so it's hard to use my fingertips to put the glitter on. This glitter, again, can go over paint also because it's a glitter cream. But I'm just going to finish the ends of my design, kind of come off with, and it doesn't work on this board as much as it does like on skin. On skin, it works better. But I'm giving it a try here. So I'm going to finish it off like I did my other design where it comes into the center and has glitter at the end. And then I'm also putting glitter right on the heart up here too, so that it has some sparkle up there. I don't want to get too much. Like that. And then you can put lipstick on and all of that, but I don't know if you can all see this. But just have fun with it. I encourage you to get out a liner brush and play. If I can do it on a live webinar, you guys can do it.
In the privacy of your own home or in a job.
Right, exactly. I had one other design I was going to do, but we're going to quit here because my time is up. And I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks, Pam. A couple other webinars we got coming up. I can actually share screens on this, can't I? Well, hell. Let me show you. So the ones we have coming up are right here. So we've got, obviously we did this one with Pam. And then on February 10th, we're going to have Inga Yushchenko. And she is did one of our contests, one of the finalists, one of our contests, and she's going to do a fantasy tiger, and then we're going to have Kathy Vergara doing she's going to do butterflies, which oddly enough we've never done butterflies on this webinar, which I find just weird. And then Kristen Olson is going to do a job. Exactly. On March 5th, she is going to be doing some, and we've got some stuff in the works outside of that, but those aren't posted yet. But when they're posted, you will hear about it.
Great. Well, Kristen is my friend from Norway.
Yes.
My home country. We've been friends ever since, for like 6 years since I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe I started on Inspiration to Paint, and she was on there, so we got to.
Have you actually met her?
No, I didn't. She was at the Beak and I didn't get to go. So no.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so we've got her, and we're going to have some other people as well. So more coming up. Anyway, thank you very much, Pam, and happy Valentine's Day, Pam.
Yeah, thank you. Same to you and to all of you who joined us. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Marina.